Why is the Trump administration fighting so hard against going to get a man that they...
That's a great video. Such a great video, and she has a couple others on this same topic. Please go back and watch if you're still concerned or if you have a lot of anxiety around this issue. Right now, there is so much fear, so much fear. I understand. We've been talking about this for months, and there is understandably fear, especially if you are someone who could be targeted by ICE. But that fear is leading to a lot of crazy theories, or even if they're like rational theories, it doesn't mean they're true. And so many people are feeling that it's a foregone conclusion that the reason they're not bringing him back must be because he is no longer with us on this earth. If you watched my previous video, you heard me unpack why this is part of the mastery lesson. But I want to point something else out in stitching this video. As part of learning to master our anxiety and our emotions, we have to develop new ways of thinking about crises, and that's tricky. That is so tricky if we've been traumatized, if we have a history of anxiety, if life has been hard for you. I absolutely understand that. So what helps to do, it's very helpful if we can open up new neural pathways, new ways of thinking, rather than going into the automatic knee-jerk fear-based response. And this takes time. That's okay. So that's why I talk about it a lot. And I've done a whole emotional support playlist that gives you tools and steps to train your brain how to do this. Now, if you're new here and you don't know much about me, I am a psychic medium, I am a healer, but that's not the extent of my story and why I talk about this stuff. For the majority of my life, I have struggled with severe mental health. Beginning age 9 was my first major depressive episode, and I had such severe depression that cycled and cycled until I eventually had a nervous breakdown at 21 and got a diagnosis of bipolar disorder at 22. And that was an absolute rock bottom that I spent years medicated and in therapy learning how to not be a mess, basically. When I say I was not coping at all, we're talking catatonic depression in bed for weeks. Like, I was deeply unwell. So I am not one of those naturally happy people who just sees the world as rainbows and sunshine. I have had to learn. I have had to train my brain. I have had to become this happy, calm, peaceful person you see now. And it took me decades of my life. I'm almost 43 now, so it's taken me a long time. So when I'm here telling you this stuff, it is not from a position on a cloud where nothing is hard for me. I have worked my ass off. I have fought to survive, and I have learned how to do this. Now, that coupled with what I have learned as a healer and from spirit is it's a combination of that I bring to you now. And because I did this in my own life and in the hundreds of clients I've worked with over the decades, almost been a decade, 9 years of doing this professionally, I know what I'm talking about, okay? So, back to the video. When a lot of people are in fear over a certain thing, it's easy for your mind to come up with a story, to come up with a conclusion, to fill in the blank of the unknown. And if you're coming from a position of anxiety, panic, fear, all the wounds that we've been talking about, this vulnerable position that we're in, it's easy for our brain to create the worst case scenario and to absolutely, fundamentally, fully, and irrefutably believe, hello, race car outside, and irrefutably believe that that is true. Which, is a side note, as a psychic, that puts me in an awkward position where people want to project that anxiety, put it onto me and say, just tell me he's okay and therefore I don't have to worry anymore. Which I understand the temptation, but that's a backwards way of going about it. We have to manage the anxiety. Because if we don't manage the anxiety, even if I told you he's fine, he's coming home tomorrow, that's not going to solve your problem. You will just get whipped up into anxiety and fear when the next thing happens. So that's why you have to manage it and train your brain and do things differently. Now, Amanda breaks down all the different logistical and strategic and political reasons why this panicked, fear-based worst case scenario is likely not to be the reason why they're on the struggle bus. And also she unpacks in another video, is it this video or another one? I don't remember. She's like, it's not that they're outright defying the order, it's that they're trying to get away with it on a technicality to try to save face because they know they're failing in every other political measure. So I share this with you to say, that's a great video. She's so brilliant and she knows what she's about. So she will help ease your anxiety and walk you through all the other potential things that could be going on that are not the reason that everyone's afraid about. And also, This is part of how we train our brain. When we have the most fearful thing and our brain wants to go there logically, because that's what happens, we have to develop the ability to say, okay, but what if it isn't that? Okay, what else could be true? What is more likely to be true? What is the best case scenario? We have to get out of. So the way I used to think of it when I was in therapy and my doctor talked to me about neuroplasticity, which by the way, this was in 2004. So like the science was infantile. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot to go on back then like we do now. But he would talk to me about neuroplasticity and about the synaptic connections in my brain. And so the way I conceptualized it is there are these bobsled tracks or like sledding tracks to where my brain wants to go down those same tracks because they're carved into the ice at this point. And it's fast and it's easy and it's automatic. All those defeated, depressed, anguished thoughts about the world, beliefs, fears, ideas, mindsets, that's automatically where my brain went. And so I had to create new neural pathways. That wasn't automatically, the world is shit, everything is terrible, I will never feel good again. I had to create new ones and say, the world is I'm not going down there. Maybe it's not terrible. Maybe there's some other thing. Maybe there's a different, I'm holding the bobsled, I'm holding it back. And it took a long fucking time, guys. It is not easy. It is not easy. It took me years, but I did it. And I did it so completely that I have been off medication for 15 years. I am not bipolar. I'm not bipolar. I probably never was. I was just severely dysregulated, severely depressed, and bonus, surprise, I was actually an empath, a psychic, and a healer, and that was making my emotional state 1,000 times worse because I was getting everything from everyone, everywhere, and it was a lot. Which also is why I have that whole course. I've created an audio course, Emotional Mastery, which talks about the psychic, spiritual side of being overwhelmed emotionally. You can check that out. It's at the link in bio. So it takes work, and I'm under no illusion that anyone can just snap their fingers and no longer be anxious, especially if you are a targeted demographic. I understand that. But I'm here as a cheerleader, as someone who has walked that path and someone who is now living fully on the other side of it, where I am happy every day. I am in peace. I can see the terrible things that are happening. I can open my heart in empathy. I can send love, but I'm not drowning in the fear or the despair. I am not carried away with the worst case scenario. I can look for the best. I can tune into higher potentials, and I can do the work to help anchor them and live in that reality rather than getting swept away by the emotional storm. So that's what I'm here for as a psychic and as a healer. I'm not just telling you what you want to hear. I'm not just peering into the future to only pick out the good ones. I'm here as a coach. I'm here as someone who's walked the path, and I'm telling you, you've got this, you can do it. It is hard, I know. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. I know, it didn't come naturally to me, but it's worth doing the work. And I'm giving you everything I can to help you do the work, because I want you all, I want the whole friggin' world to be able to pull themselves out the way I pulled myself out, and to live in a world that is peaceful. And from that peaceful place, I now have the emotional energy to be an advocate, to be a helper, to protest and not be in despair, to help people and not be dragged down by it. Do you get it? So I got you, fam, and you've got you. You can do this.